Vice President Kamala Harris earlier this week in Pennsylvania, and my next guest shared that stage with her. Former Virginia Congressman Denver Riggleman, he joins me now. He is former senior technical advisor to the January 6th committee, and I'm glad to see you. Thank you for joining us, Denver. So you said you got to talk to VP Harris. What did you say to her? What did she say to you?
Well, there was a lot of people wanting to talk to her. We were in line there, and I went up to her, and I had heard so many other things. I said, what can I say that just gets our point across? Well, I said, hey, how you doing, Madam Vice President? It's good to see you here. And she goes, oh, my goodness, you're the Virginia chair. That's incredible, for Republicans for Harris. I said, yes, and I see that everybody wants to talk to you. I said, can I just be very short here? I want to tell you what I'm thinking. She goes, absolutely. I said, listen, I was former Air Force. I just want to tell you, we got your six and kick his ass. I mean, that was pretty much what we talked about. So, and she started laughing. So we had a little bit of a discussion after that. And then, of course, on stage, when you see her shaking my hand right here, which I think is happening, she actually said, I remember what you said. Thank you. And I said, yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's what's going on right there with Republicans for Harris.
I love it. All the details right there. And I'm sure she did laugh. I laughed when you just said that about kick his or, we'll keep it going there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
So
Alpha Sierra Sierra. Right.
Gotcha. So the speech in Bucks County, VP Harris returned to the theme of Trump as a threat to democracy, which came days after Trump on Fox continued his theme of using the military. I mean, you mentioned the Air Force, but using the military against political rivals. And after a former Trump supporter at the Univision town hall asked about his actions and inactions, really, on January 6th, how was this message received in Pennsylvania among Republicans, Denver in particular?
Hey, it's chilling. I mean, there's a lot of veterans in the Republican Party, as people know, and I think what gets me is that any self-respecting veteran couldn't support somebody who even hints at using the military against civilians based on voting or based on what they think is a conspiracy theory of another stolen election. And being that senior technical advisor on the January 6th committee, that's what scared me the most, is that January 6th was just a training ground. Also, I've been in a couple documentaries about the radicalization of veterans, which really gets to me. And I think there's a couple layers here, Alex. It's not just the fact that he's threatening retribution through the military against individuals who he thinks maybe stole an election through conspiracies and fantasies, those people that think, that Lord of the Rings is a documentary. I think the other things that you have is you have veterans that have been radicalized that are actually behind that, where they actually believe that their oath means that they got to support a failed president, a conspiracy theorist, a felon, and a sexual abuser for president. So there's a lot of layers there, Alex, and I think that's what worries people in Pennsylvania, but it's what worries people across the country, and especially worries former Republicans and Republicans that are now voting for Kamala Harris, because it just doesn't make sense to the sane or the rational or the real veterans out there why anybody would support somebody saying these type of things.
Well, look, the latest NBC News poll, it shows that 18% of voters say protecting democracy would be so important they would vote for or against a candidate solely on that basis, Denver. It's third on the list right now. Is this the top issue you're hearing from Republicans and former Republicans who now support VP Harris?
For most of the Republicans, it is the top issue. I think it's sort of interleaved, though, right, with the foreign policy stance of Trump and how he coddles with Putin. And if you look at traditional Republicans, real Republicans, those that actually have this sort of historical look at what the Republican Party was about in foreign policy, the people who support Trump or support Putin, who are against Ukraine, are actually the rhinos to people like me. Those are the real rhinos because they don't even understand foreign policy. They're listening to disinformation on the web, and they become useful idiots to this propaganda about Putin being, a protector of religion and a protector of Christianity. So again, Alex, there's a lot of layers. I just think the disinformation, I would say the threading of disinformation across all social media platforms from the far right, MAGA, or even paid influencers, I think is making a mark. And I think that, again, that's what worries people like me who's been involved in fighting disinformation for so long.
Yeah, but relative to the military, to veterans, as you were touching on, we saw Generals Milley and Mattis weighing in. They were talking to Bob Woodward on Trump's retribution rhetoric. But much of their sentiments, they aren't new. So do voices like theirs move the needle now that the election is right around the corner? Are people paying attention?
This is gonna be a realistic splash of cold water right now. I think what the Republicans for Harris are trying to move is only about 1 to 3% of Republicans right now. I think, you have a lot of Republicans that won't pull the lever for Trump, but they're not going to pull the lever for Harris either, because you hear some just ridiculous things that, well, I can't vote for Trump, but she's a communist. Like, what do you get? Where do you get this, right? Well, you get it from far right media, and I think too. I was against this film called Against All Enemies, which was about veteran radicalization. Those who have already been radicalized aren't going to be listening to incredible generals like General Milley. They're going to listen to crazies like Mike Flynn. Even when you leave the military, you sometimes have this propensity to follow chain of command. So you have a lot of people who got out, obviously, under the 3-star general level, who thinks that Mike Flynn is a general they still need to follow. So instead of an incredible patriot and hero like General Milley, they're following somebody, and I hate to say it like this, but it's almost like he started sniffing glue 10 years ago and has gone completely nuts and down the QAnon rabbit hole. And a lot of those veterans that have been radicalized are following a 3-star general like that who's retired. And that's what worries me, Alex. We really are trying to just get 1 to 3% of those Republicans to vote for Kamala, just not vote for Trump, if that makes sense.
Totally makes sense. It's always sobering talking to you, my friend, but I'm glad to get the message from you. Thanks, Denver.